We going?
Yes, we're rolling.
Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of Movie Club. Probably the most normal, basic movie. Just vanilla, plain Jane movie you could think of.
Yeah.
A little film called Delicatessen.
Yeah. You know, we do a lot of artsy stuff on here. A lot of, I don't know. It just felt like it was time to do something more for kind of the Netflix, you know, kind of Friends rerun crowd. You know what I mean? Something
the
just
Friends rerun crowd.
You know what I mean?
This movie has Chandler Bing vibes.
Definitely.
Not only that, I feel like this is just all the NBC comedies rolled up into one movie.
Yeah.
Frasier.
Basically.
Suddenly Susan, Caroline in the City.
Yeah.
Superstore.
Yeah.
Call Center.
It's just like a comfort food movie. You know what I mean? Comfort food. You know.
Yeah,
like
snuggle up on a cold day with a blanket, a cup of soup, and delicatessen.
Yeah, and a human finger or two.
By the way, we're joking.
Oh, yeah.
This movie's heinous. This movie will F you up.
Oh, really?
I didn't know what we were getting into watching this movie. This one was weird.
This movie was weird, and I don't know what you would call this type of filmmaking.
Yeah. We need to solve this right
well,
now.
there is a style, and I feel like the style is like grotesque gore film, or it's not like it's that gory, because it's not. But the shots are all so fucking ugly. They make everyone look so gross that it's like you're never settled. It's always disgusting to look at. And I don't know what you would call that type of movie.
So Sean brought this up to me right after he watched it, saying, "Is this Babe Pig in the City again?" And I'm like, I didn't feel that way. I was almost done with the movie. And he's like, I'm just talking about the way they shoot it. It's like they get the lens as close to an ugly face as possible. I know what he's talking about. It's like
there's something, and I really did get a lot of Babe Pig in the City vibes just because it's always miserable. And so I kind of felt it a little bit.
I that's where I will diverge, though. I did not feel the levels of misery that I did with Babe.
Well, again, I won't be as angry at this movie as a Babe because this is not a movie for children. So that's fine. You make this movie if you want.
Yeah, so this movie, Delicatessen, came out in 1991. I didn't think it was ugly to look at, personally. I was really impressed visually.
No.
And I thought the people were really pretty.
I know what
maybe that's just me.
I know what he's talking about. I did not.
I thought the people were pretty.
I thought Babe actually sought to make everything look ugly. That was how I felt. This, it was, there was a lot of grotesque stuff, but I was actually impressed with the creativity of the shots.
Sure, and that's the thing. Well, I think everyone cast in the movie they're not ugly, but they're just unique looking, maybe. They looked weird.
That it was just it was the friends and family of the director.
I read that. I did read that.
Yeah.
So that makes sense because they didn't seem like they were gorgeous actors, which I don't need in a movie. I don't need the best looking people to be in a movie. I just felt like when the first shot of the guy trying to escape in the trash can, he's like looking around and it looks like his eyeballs are about to bump out of his head. Like he's so like whatever. And it's like, oh, it's this. This is what we're in for. It's like going to be really close up on some body parts coming up. I just feel that.
Sean, I think I'm trying to nail what you're saying here. And
because I can't do it.
I'm trying to figure it out too. But there is a shot in one of our videos. We did a video called The Playdate about like video games not being ready when they are released. And there is, I would say Sean's a handsome guy. I'll say it.
He's
you got a male model on the set here. But there is a shot where we get the fisheye lens on the camera and we've shoved it so far into your face where you're going, the game's not ready, that it is the worst shot. It's just, you look, it's like, good. Get out of
I look
his
weird.
face.
Yeah.
And I think maybe you're feeling those vibes. It's not even like, oh, these people are ugly, but it's just a certain way to shoot things where it just makes them look a certain way. And maybe that's off-putting to you.
Maybe.
I don't know.
If people out there, I'm going to assume you don't know what Delicatessen is, that you've never seen it. It's a film by two guys, two directors who work together. They're known as Joannette et Caro. It's the same director as Amelie.
Yes.
And Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
You know, Amelie was a movie I saw back in high school with my first girlfriend. I remember loving it, but I also don't know one thing about it. I don't remember anything about this movie. So,
I actually love the way this movie looks, but I am into this style. I think what you're trying to hit on is it has a very expressionistic style where they use high angles and they film things from weird angles. They're filming regular everyday things, but they're filming them in a way where they seem strange, bizarre, and unreal.
That is, yes.
It's the same thing that Tim Burton does in a lot of his movies, and it's kind of left over from like 1920s and 30s like German horror films. I think is where that all started. This is a very French movie. It's French film. It's subtitled in French. I don't know why I've picked all the French films for Movie Club. The Professional.
Oh, yeah.
400 Blows, and now Delicatessen. This movie, I really didn't know anything about it. I'd always heard of this movie, but I didn't know what it was.
I never even heard of it.
It was described as a post-apocalyptic, dark comedy, science fiction horror film, and I even feel like that doesn't quite capture the genre of this movie.
Yeah, that was everything that was described to me about it did not match what I felt like I saw.
Yeah, I kept waiting for the comedy.
I think it was a funny movie, but I think that it's a style of comedy that is maybe not your style of comedy.
Maybe that's what it is, because I really was just like,
I think this movie.
What's funny?
I think this movie is a dark comedy.
Yes.
And it's so dark it borders on horror.
Right. Which like the woman trying to kill herself and it wasn't working. Like, is that the comedy? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the one part. Like, I guess they're trying to think, but I still was like, this is fucking dark and like.
It's so dark it borders on horror.
Yeah.
But it's a dark comedy. I think that this movie is kind of a rare and special treat. Not even necessarily like it's really good, but I think rarely do you see a movie that is so strange that you can actually like palate. And I think you may not like this movie, but it wasn't boring for me personally. I felt like I got through to the end. I feel like I've seen other movies that are so weird it makes my brain hurt, and I'm just like, hey, turn it off, you know? Right. I don't want to pay attention. This one I was kind of interested in while I was watching it.
Sure.
But I definitely get why it would be off-putting. This whole movie, it's like from 1991. Did this start the everything is brown trend, or was that just a French thing? I felt like The Professional. Leon the Professional.
Yeah, it was all kind of golden brown.
Yeah, it
and
had like a
stuff.
brown color palette.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
And doesn't City of Lost Children feel that way too? It's been a long time. I don't even know if I saw it.
Is that the same director as this movie?
Yes, and I feel like it, but I feel like even Amelie had a lot of that too. So maybe. I was just gonna say though, real quick about that director. He did Alien Resurrection as well, right? I don't think I love their movies, but I do appreciate some of the creativity around them. You know what I mean? And so that was really the star of the show for me. I still thought there were a lot of really creative shots and stuff. And even Alien Resurrection, I've always believed it's like a D movie, but I still kind of get a kick out of it. You know what I mean? It like Alien 3, you have a serious sequel and maybe it doesn't live up to whatever, but I feel like Alien Resurrection kind of knew what it was. And I don't know. I've always thought this guy had some creative juices in his stuff, so I enjoyed that aspect.
We're going to get into the plot in a second, but I will say this is a low-budget film. It cost less than $4 million to make, and it earned about $12 million.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I feel like for a low-budget film, this doesn't feel like a low-budget film.
Yeah, no, honestly.
All the actors were friends and family of the director. It doesn't feel like they just cast. It feels like they went out and got actors.
It does.
They filmed this on a set, and I was thinking, like, how did you get this set?
Especially when they go down below. I was very impressed with like the sewer system, like the way that looked. It looked. I thought it was very smart to put everything in that yellow haze or fog because you didn't have to dress everything.
Yeah.
It's all fucked up. It's all yellow. You can't see shit. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But also you have to decorate shit or spend money on making a set.
So let's get into the story, and then we can talk more about what you're talking. Because I think we're describing things that people just are like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
definitely.
So Delicatessen takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, and it opens, like Sean said, almost in a yellow fog, and you don't see much of the setting other than buildings are in ruins, and there's a certain condo or apartment complex. It's really one building with a bunch of tenants living in it, and on the first floor is a butcher. The butcher. Basically, the plot of this movie is the butcher who is the landlord of the building, and he kills the handyman and butchers up the meat and feeds the tenants of the building with that meat. This is a post-apocalyptic world, so there's no money. People pay with bags of corn and different grain. It just seems like everything revolves around food.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm down with that.
Yeah. So the main character is a new handyman named Louison. And essentially, he is hired to be the new handyman. But we know the shtick here.
Yes.
This guy hires the handyman. He gets a little bit of free labor. And then after a week or two, when everybody's hungry, he knocks him off, chops him up, and feeds him to the tenants. That's the basic premise of Delicatessen.
Yeah.
The butcher has a daughter. Mm-hmm. And she kind of falls in love with the handyman named Louison. But what I will say out the gate is the story is good enough, but it's not really present when the movie starts. The movie's very artistic. Mm-hmm. Almost like every scene is just set up to show off some artistic trick or performance.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually wasn't sure what to think of it at this point. I was like, is this movie just going to be weird stuff that looks cool without any story? But as it went on, I actually thought, hey, this is clever because this is a low-budget movie and you're keeping it interesting for not a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And you're kind of lacing in enough of a story, like basically figuring out what's going on with this building and figuring out who the characters are. Mm-hmm. Pretty early on in the movie, they have this sequence called... I think it's called like the Sex Symphony. That's how it's referred to.
Oh, okay.
But the butcher has sex with a woman, and while he's doing it, it's like the bed springs are, and it goes all around the apartment to people doing stuff in unison with the sound of that spring. So somebody's playing the cello, and somebody is, beating a rug. And it's this whole very French comedy bit. I feel like the synchronicity of things matching up with sex.
Yeah, it becomes a better version of Stomp.
Yeah.
I think this is where we lost Sean.
That is exactly where... I mean, I was pretty lost already, but that is exactly where you lost me, and I was like, oh, fuck this, dude. Fuck this.
I thought there was a lot of creativity in every shot.
That's the thing. Here's the thing.
It didn't bother me at all.
No. I agree that there is creativity there. Like, there is. But can you put creativity somewhere else? Like, I just didn't like this. Like, beating a carpet to while people are fucking and then his daughter's playing cello to her dad banging. It's like, yeah, this isn't funny. I don't know. Fuck this. That was me. But yeah, it was creative. And I thought the way they used the pipes in the movie, how like people could talk to each other through the old rusted pipes, that's interesting. There were things about this movie that were cool, but on a whole, it's about eating people and fucking on a bed while people play cello to it. I don't know. Is that good?
Well, I mean, the Sex Symphony was just one comedy bit in a larger film.
You say comedy, but I say it was a part of the movie.
I thought there was a comical vibe to the whole movie.
I felt like everything from the very beginning where like the guy is wrapping himself up in trash to go try to sneak out by smuggling himself out as trash. It's not American comedy.
Okay.
It's French comedy.
Yeah.
It is. Here's what it is. I was watching this thinking, what is the joke here? I think that there's such a sense of French culture. I think there's such a sense of the way things are supposed to be in society that the comedy is just look at this man. He dresses himself in garbage. Where in America, I'd be like, I don't know. Sometimes people dress in garbage. What's the joke? You know. But in France, it's like, look, he's wearing trash. Oh man.
But see, that's the joke. But it's a man trying to disguise himself so he doesn't get murdered and eaten. So
it's
like
a dark comedy. I actually when the movie started, I was there with you. By the end of the film, I think I was hooked. So
okay.
I'm gonna give this one a positive rating at the end of today's show. Full disclosure. I ended up liking this movie.
That's fine.
But I think you ended up maybe not liking this movie.
Well, we'll see. Time will tell.
Oh, we don't know.
Time will tell. First gag, I'm out.
Here's the thing. When picking this movie, I looked up the trailer. The trailer is just that scene.
Oh, really?
It's just that scene,
Really?
and then the dude busts a nut at the end, and the guy like falls over. Everybody who's doing something falls over and explodes, and it just goes Delicatessen.
Wow,
Okay.
that's a trailer.
That's all I knew. That's all I knew going into. So
all this deli serving is bologna.
somebody has sex.
You know what I mean?
You know, I feel like I wanted to take time here to just talk about that this movie has sequences.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the plot is very thin.
Yeah.
But I think I think that works. You know, I don't want a convoluted plot for this Delicatessen film. So here's the plot. The butcher's daughter falls in love with the handyman, and she doesn't want him to get killed because she likes him. But the butcher basically says to her, like, what are you going to do? We live in a post-apocalyptic world. Where are you going to get food from? How are you going to survive? The whole time in this movie, there's these reports of like a terrorist group called the Troglodytes. And in this post-apocalyptic world, which they never really explain what happened.
No, they don't.
It seems to me like maybe nukes went off because everything is shrouded in a cloud.
Yeah.
So it could be like a nuclear winter. And they mentioned that, you know, somebody's like, well, things will get better when the crops come back. And he's like, the crops ain't never coming back.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, okay, so is this like a nuclear winter where all the crops have failed?
I bet you're right. Yeah.
The Troglodytes are an underground group, resistance group. They describe them as criminals who you never see. The daughter, she goes down there to meet with them, and they kind of don't trust her. They're like, what are you doing here? But she wants to get away from her dad, and she wants to rescue this handyman. And she tells them, you know, you can trust me. Why don't we rob my dad? He has a bunch of food because people pay him in grain. He stores it in like a safe. So why don't we organize a robbery? At the same time that's happening, the butcher, the residents are kind of demanding the butcher, like, where's our meat? Where's our next meal coming from? And the butcher, he's having trouble knocking off this handyman because his daughter is like trying to protect him and stuff. And he starts telling them, you know what? Maybe I don't want to knock off the handyman. You're late on rent. Why don't we take your mother-in-law? Be like, what? It's like, yeah, we got an age limit in this building. Maybe we'll take her. So then one night they kind of, I mean, this scene happens where they kind of set the mother-in-law up to be murdered. But then as the plot unfolds, the butcher tells them like, no, I'm going to use you to trick the handyman to come out, and then we're going to kill him. But then it like, does the plot work? We're not sure. Next thing we know, the mother-in-law is dead and they're just handing out meat to everybody.
And then he accidentally cut off the leg of someone else or something, right? Like that's what happened.
Wait, what do you mean?
And that scene, like with the yarn, and she goes down to get the yarn, and she has like a heart attack and dies. And then the guy who has like, I thought the guy was the guy from Babe, honestly, but it wasn't. The old man, he said like, you hear a man scream, so you think it's a handyman. But then he said, the guy shows like he has like a stub for a leg and it's all bloody because like the butcher, I guess he came out because of the scream. And then he got his leg cut off by the butcher, is what I thought.
Oh, I missed that part. But, you know, that totally could have happened.
That's
in one viewing, you may blink and some people will pick up on things. But.
Yeah, I just assumed that guy got his leg cut off by the butcher as well.
I definitely missed something. I thought the old man was like in love with the woman who died because he like didn't want to eat the meat and was like sad after she got knocked off.
I missed so many things because I just like, it's one of those anime things where like, am I stupid? I just don't get I don't get why this is anything. Like, even like the guy like moaning into the pipes and why that way woman's gonna kill herself.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
So I actually thought that was cool. One of the characters is a woman who complains that she's been hearing voices, like she's schizophrenic. And we kind of already mentioned there's this recurring comedy bit where she continuously tries to commit suicide in these increasingly intricate ways.
Which I did appreciate how
it's like
creative
a
that was.
Goldberg machine,
Right.
Yeah.
to commit suicide, but they always go wrong for whatever reason. You know, in one example, she's in a bathtub filled with water with a lamp perched above it, and the lamp is on, and it's connected to a scarf, and the scarf is running through a sewing machine, and the sewing machine is connected to the doorbell. So if somebody rings the doorbell, it'll turn on the sewing machine, which will pull the scarf and drop the lamp into the bathtub and kill her. And there's a guy at the door, and at the same time, the handyman, Louison, is installing something next door. He's hammering, and right at the last moment, he hammers so hard that the plug falls out. So when the lamp falls into the bathtub, it's not electrocuting her because there's no power going to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a series of these near deaths that just go wrong.
Yeah, but the whole time someone's going ooh to her.
What I was going to say is this is a sci-fi horror movie, so there are these scenes where she's setting up her suicide, and you hear the voices in her head, and it's creepy, and it's like, you will be better off. You are the worm, and we are the fruit. Just saying weird stuff like that, which I thought, was an effective horror element. Later on, you find out there's a guy in the apartment building who is talking to her through the pipes, trying to get her to commit suicide. I think it's because he wants to eat her. I think a big theme of this movie is it's a dog-eat-dog world. And literally, like, these people are so hungry, they're turning on their neighbors to eat each other and sabotage them. At the end of the film, the climax is the daughter has organized the robbery, and she's also asked the troglodytes to kidnap the handyman so that they can be together. At the same time, the handyman, he used to be like a circus performer, and they're going to be running one of his old performances on television. He invites the daughter to come watch the television program with her while the robbery is happening. But the TV starts malfunctioning, and everybody's upset that they can't watch the performance. And it's the butcher on the roof. He's jiggling the antenna because he's trying to lure the handyman out so he can kill him. And that's what happens. The handyman comes out, the butcher tries to kill him, and the final act of this movie is kind of like a big extended Scooby-Doo chase. I think is the way to describe it. Where the butcher, all the cards are on the table. I want to kill you and eat you. And you're trying to escape with my daughter. And the butcher and all the tenants who are hungry kind of chase the handyman around the apartment complex until eventually he locks himself in a bathroom, and in a very Wile E. Coyote scheme, like plugs all the holes up and fills it with water so that it bursts.
Which looked expensive and impressive. That set was very impressive to me.
I thought every degree of this movie did not show its budget, or what I mean?
I agree.
Look way more pro than it probably could have.
Definitely did.
Yeah.
Even when the water was like rushing out, it's like, how'd they do that? Like
it was like Stanley Kubrick, the elevator doors opening.
It was really impressive.
The ending of the movie, I feel like, pays off pretty well. They set up that this guy, the handyman, is pretty good with a boomerang. It's like a bladed boomerang. And at the end of the movie, he is kind of trapped because he's destroyed a bunch of the house and he can't go anywhere. And a woman hands the butcher the bladed boomerang. They're like, use this. And he throws it, but it stops just short and comes back and hits him. And he dies. And then we are left to think that the daughter and the handyman inherit the building. It's kind of like a all's well that ends well.
It even seemed like at the end, there's these two kids that keep showing up in the movie. They live in the building, and they're playing on the roof, and it seems like the skies are clearer.
It's a little bit of a happy ending.
Yeah, but it's like, is it over? Are you guys fine now, or what?
And I just wonder, so did they eat that butcher? I mean,
they had to
have eaten that guy.
But
right?
who's carving him up? That's the question.
Ooh, I don't know.
You need the butcher to carve up the people. But they had all that. The butcher had all this corn.
Yeah.
So maybe he ate corn now. I don't know.
I appreciate the fact that is the plot of this movie. We just kind of said it, and it's really simple. Guy shows up, dude wants to eat him, daughter wants to F him. How does it all play out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, this movie is more of a vehicle for creative scenarios than it is this plot,
it's not like a life-changing story.
That's totally what it's set out to be, and I think that's totally cool. There's totally room for movies like that too, and I thought there was a lot of great creativity shown.
Yeah, I felt like this movie was kind of just a fun exercise in filmmaking.
Yeah.
In cinematography and bending genres, and there's enough of a plot there to sustain a movie.
Yeah. I think for the story and that side of it, I'm probably on the same page as Sean. I don't know how much I care for that side of it. I liked it on the creativity showcase side.
Yeah, there was a shot in particular where they're watching him on TVs, like his old performance with his monkey or whatever. And the shot was from inside the TV. And it was like the screen, it was in front of the camera. And then you saw them looking at the screen. And it looked really cool. Like, I don't know how they did that. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I was watching this movie, and halfway through it, I felt like this movie is a mix between Terry Gilliam and David Lynch. This is like Blue Velvet meets Brazil, in my opinion. You know, kind of like weird characters, dark theme, maybe like a little bit of a murder mystery, but also visually bizarre as hell.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I didn't know what I thought of this movie until it was starting to wrap up, and I was like, hey, this is it. I kind of like it. So I'll give it some popcorn shakes unless there's anything else you guys want to kind of chime in and say about this film.
Yeah, I feel like this is like one of our shorter ones ever, but the movie's just so fucking weird. I don't know how you explain it. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
really,
more-
and that was the
more to be
thing. It's like,
seen.
I can't even imagine being the director trying to like get across your vision to people and tell them like what to do. Like this, because it's all so weird. Like, it just looks weird. It makes no sense.
Well,
I don't know.
It makes a little sense.
A little bit. But there's just all it is a sequence of little scenes that culminate with this butcher getting a boomerang in his head, I guess. But like, even like they're on the bed trying to find the squeak and just trying to find a squeak for like the longest time. And it's like, okay.
This guy doesn't get French
See,
humor.
I thought that was funny.
This
I
guy
thought that
doesn't
part
get
was
French
funny.
jokes.
Where are the jokes?
You don't get it.
I thought
They're
that
right
was.
in front of you.
I thought that was a funny part.
I
My favorite visual in the entire movie was the guy in the wet room full of frogs and snails.
What was that? Ew.
I love the visual of that because it was just so like
Yeah, me too.
out of
I
left
was
field. Like,
impressed.
what is
A
this?
lot of this movie had me feeling like, how did you pull this off?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was very impressed.
It was a lot of that, but why would you ever want to pull this off?
I thought that was that visual stayed with me. And when he like threw the snail shell and it landed on the pile of them, just the aesthetic of that part. Visually, how did you do that? What'd you make this all out of? Did you really get that many snail shells? I don't know. And it just clattering down the hill of them. I don't know. There were just so many things that were like, I've never seen that before. Okay. Anyway, that stuck with me. That was I don't know how they pulled that.
And I feel like there's probably some level of humor that everybody in this building is struggling to find food, except the one guy who is eating these very traditional French meals.
Yeah.
Frog legs and escargot.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even realize. Like, where is he in the building?
I think I read that he is on a second story room that is like filled with water or something.
And did they ever say what the fuck that was about? Or
No, that part was straight up weird, but I liked it.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. I did too. I like that shot.
This movie feels weird, but it also feels like just because I don't understand it, it doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. I feel like somebody who made this movie knew what was going on, just not me, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you watch a weird movie and it's like, nobody here knows what the fuck they're doing. But this one felt like there was some control to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not a movie for everyone. It definitely is not.
No, but there were impressive things about it. It was very stylized. I just hated the style of it, but it was. You know,
Yeah.
I acknowledge that like there was real skill put at work here, and like you know, it just didn't work for me at all. It's miserable.
Well, it's a decisive film. I think on that we can give it some popcorn shakers. I will start because I picked it. I'm going to give this movie 3.5 out of 5. I almost want to give it a 4, but I'll give it 3.5.
I will say I really love the creativity on display here and thought it was absolutely a great choice for Movie Club for that reason. I'd never heard of this. Definitely, probably wouldn't have sat down to watch this. But again, I think it's perfect for this format where there's kind of a lot to kind of look at either side on and whatever. I love the creativity here. But on the story side of it, as a movie and all that, not my thing. Probably agree with Sean, but I just thought a lot of creativity. Probably wouldn't watch it again. So I'm gonna give it a 2. Wasn't my thing, but really impressed by how they got it done, and I'm good. Don't need to see it again.
What about you? 5? 6? 7?
You know, I gave Babe a 0. Babe Pig in the City a 0. I'm not going to do that here because this movie had creative elements to it, and I feel like, again, if this movie was made for children and rated G,
yeah,
you get a 0.
The context
for
would be different.
Hey, Babe was not even that bad.
It was.
Babe was pretty good.
Well, I was gonna say I don't think this is, other than the camera work, I don't compare this to Babe. It was just some of the camera shit that looked similar.
Just like
but I don't think that's.
Oh,
fair.
you don't want to see this? Well, we'll put the camera right there. You're gonna see it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this a 1. I really hated this movie. I really hated this movie, but I do acknowledge that the sets were cool. Cool that's low budget and you made your family work on this.
Was it the Sex Symphony that did it for
you? It
you?
wasn't just that. It was just, but that was I wasn't enjoying any part of it. There's not one part where I was like, okay, you know what? This is good. I'm just like, fuck, I hate this. Like, I just never liked it.
I really was pleased by the execution of it. I really was like, damn, wow. How'd they pull all this off? I just didn't care about the
There
story
were parts
side
that reminded me of Michelle Gondry a little bit.
Yeah.
Like when she's like going to like the underground people's like place and all of a sudden they burst out of nowhere. And it was pretty creative how they're all hiding there. There was like 35 people that are hiding. Like, that was cool.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they get the point.
I'm just cracking up that your description after you gave it 1 was, you know, that's cool. You made your whole family work on this. I don't know why. That's cool. You made your whole family work on this. It was killing me.
Well,
anyway,
clearly, like their career took off after this, and they made like crazy huge movies. So good on them. Obviously, they're talented. I just think this story was garbage, and I didn't. And I will die before I can find a joke in that movie. That's not possible.
What?
Even them trying to find the squeaks, I thought was. I love these funny, awkward setups like that. I don't know. I thought that was funny.
There's got to be a fucking funny part
Dude,
of this movie.
There's a couple. Let me just say, there's a couple that has reused the same like condom forever.
Yes, and has 2 holes in it because they have 2 kids.
Yeah, I think that's all funny. Like, I think that's all like
he's blowing into the condom and washing it out, and it's like it's disgusting. It's gross.
It's a post-apocalyptic world.
In all honesty,
it's the last condom on Earth.
In all honesty, that to me is actually a very like just to bring it into a modern context, American context. That's a very Tim and Eric joke. To me is like, meet the guy and his one job is he's the guy who sells used toilet paper and he's cleaning, whatever.
Right.
Like that's very, I don't know. I think there's a lot of humor in this movie. So I'm going to defend it from Sean on.
Sorry, Delicatessen. I hope you're not too offended by my review that your movie, there is
my 2 is only that I wouldn't watch it again, but.
What about they kidnapped a girl, but it's supposed to be a guy, and they're like, well, we can't tell if it's a guy or a girl, so they squeeze her boobs.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Sean
good.
wasn't
You don't
fucking
get friendship.
cracking
And
up.
then like
Yeah,
there's
you
a
don't
part
get
where
it.
like the
friendship,
mailman
right?
is gonna maybe rape the daughter.
Well, that wasn't a joke.
Yeah, that's not funny.
I'll
Why
let
would
you
you-
know that wasn't supposed to
I
be.
would you
was
bring that
watching
up?
this movie and I was like, the only thing that could get it to be like that, like it's like, what's worse than this? I guess they could rape someone. Oh, there they go. They're gonna try to rape
Oh.
someone. Of course they are. Because what else are we gonna do? We're having a lady crying because she's about to eat her dead mom. This is funny.
Well,
Where is I just I
You
don't
thought
know.
that was funny? I don't know.
that part wasn't supposed to be funny.
That's pretty dark, man.
What? The whole movie was that? Oh my god.
But he was a circus clown who performed with a monkey.
Yeah.
That part was supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
It kind of was.
Was it? I don't know,
Well,
you guys. You
okay,
guys,
Sean,
I'm sorry.
If you're
Sorry.
the movie expert on what's good, why don't you pick next week's movie then?
Here's the thing. I wanted to pick just like a lighthearted. There's a movie that I've had on my list since this thing started called Support Your Local Sheriff. I'm not picking that today. But that's just like a nothing Western movie that's like stupid. Whatever. I feel like I'm just not getting it. I have never seen this movie. We've heard about it 10 billion times. It's on every top 10 movie list of all time. Whatever. Fuck it. I've never seen Citizen Kane. Let's just watch this movie. It's on HBO Max. Is that no good?
I don't know. I'm not hearing good shit about this.
I've never seen it. Maybe I need to watch like this movie to get what movies are supposed to be because I don't fucking get it.
Or this is gonna be the one that pushes you over the edge.
Maybe
You're gonna be done with
because
movies.
this movie is one of those like best movie of all time on like every list.
Yeah.
Why is that? I have no idea.
Hey, yesterday, literally, they announced Criterion announced they're finally going to release movies in 4K, and they're starting it with Citizen Kane and The Beatles: A Hard Day's Night. So those, I guess, are the two top movies of all time that should be seen in the highest resolution.
You know, I'm truly
so maybe
like
there's something to
I've
it.
never thought this looked interesting at all, but who knows? Maybe it's fucking great. It's on these lists for a
I
reason.
don't want to say too much ahead of time. It would have been, it'd be a lot better in color. I won't go into it, but
Okay.
actually I've never seen it. So
Well,
I also thought it was like a 4-hour movie, but it's only like an hour and 40 minutes, so
Wait,
that's
no,
fine.
I saw it in like 2002 or something, and I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah. It always seemed like it's gonna be like a long experience, but it's not. It's quick. So let's just get through it.
Let's endure Citizen Kane next week.
Citizen Kane,
Think
not
of,
Citizen Toxie.
no.
Don't watch the trauma film.
I don't
We're
know.
watching Citizen Kane on the next episode of Movie Club. We'll see you there.
See you then.